Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. We cover a lot of ground, including Table Lay Talk with Gary Kent, Point of Order with the NSPS Joint Government Affairs Team, Future Focus, highlighting current and future leaders of the profession, and everything survey-related in between. Thanks for joining us here on the podcast, and hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Surveyor Says. Hello and welcome to another episode of Surveyor Says. This is your host, Tim Burch. And this past summer, I had a chance to visit Hexagon, I'm going to say the world famous, at this point, it's the U.S.-based conference that Hexagon / Leica puts on every year in Vegas. This year was kind of nice because it was back after a couple-year absence for that dreaded COVID. I'm getting so tired of even hearing that name, to be honest with you, but got to think it's somewhat over. But today we want to talk about something I came across there during the Vegas show, and it was an interesting piece of software / really kind of a different way of looking at running a surveying business. And the company's called Kompas with a K, and so my guest today is one of the founders of Kompas. Kai, I want you to pronounce your last name so I don't butcher it. I'm bad at butchering names sometimes.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, thanks for having me. First of all, last name is Duebbert.
Duebbert,
German name. Yeah,
German. Okay, very good. Well, like I said, it was fascinating to go through all of this technology through this conference and come across what you've put together as really to me it's a revolutionary way for a surveying business, geospatial business, to really jump into the business side of things and not just buy, not to bash any the QuickBooks or any of these other software packages, but they're really not built for what we do. So I guess let's start here. How did Kompas come about? Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how this all evolved into Kompas?
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from Germany. I'm a second generation surveyor myself. My father had a surveying company, so I started very early on, holding leveling staffs and setting up tripods. I then studied surveying at the university in Munich in Germany, and after that I worked internationally for aerial survey companies first and photogrammetric companies, and in the end I worked for an engineering surveying company called Murphy Geospatial, or Murphy Surveys at the time, in the UK. I was always very interested in surveying and want to bring the profession forward as well, particularly in the UK. And I joined Murphy Geospatial as a general manager, and then later on was managing director or / CEO there, and got an MBA as well, so on the management side of things. And during that time, we weren't too big yet. We were around 9 people in the UK and maybe 30 people in Ireland, and we grew to one of the biggest companies in Europe. And that we believe that was only possible because during that time we developed a system to manage our business. So this is the whole sales, operations, timesheets and finance and so on. It's all integrated, and it's specifically for geospatial companies. So also not for those large companies that might be able to use SAP or something very big,
exactly.
NetSuite or something like that. It's really focused on surveying companies up to, let's say, 250 employees, and makes managing their business and their workflows very straightforward, very intuitive, and very easy. And all the lessons learned that we had during those years, growing the company, all those lessons learned flowed into the software, And about 2 years ago, we decided that after a market study we did, that there's nothing comparable on the market. There are many packages for managing a business, but for the type of business that surveying businesses are, there wasn't really anything on the market. So we decided to go to the market, and we haven't done that much sales or marketing yet, which is why we're probably not as well known yet. But we have already around 400 users in the US, and we went to Hexagon Live, where we had very good interest also from Hexagon itself, who see a gap in the market for a system like that, and really helping businesses to manage surveying business, to manage all the different aspects of a business, everything integrated as well.
Well, and I guess that's where I want to start with, because that's something that we've started talking about, and I think we've really started having some more honest conversations in our profession in the US, and I got to believe this is still a situation worldwide, is that the surveying profession, at least in the US, and that's where I'll base my opinions, my observations, is that we are a wonderful profession of very, very competent, somewhat well-educated surveyors. But so many of these surveyors, and especially the ones that have branched out on their own, that maybe don't have that business background, are jumping into their own businesses because they're good surveyors, but yet they don't provide themselves with the tools to run a manageable business. And I think that's part of the problem. And it sounds like and with your background, kudos on the MBA, that the fact that you've looked at this and you've developed a package to really help the surveyor become a better business person.
Yes, absolutely. Like we all know how it works. Like you're a good surveyor and you're ambitious, and you maybe want to do your own company, and this is all still okay when you're relatively small. You know all your projects, know all your clients, know all your staff. Everything it's still stressful, and obviously you have a lot of challenges there. But in terms of managing the business, that's still okay, I would say. But then you grow, and you want to grow, and you employ more people. And we've seen it quite a lot. Like once you hit the 20, 30, 40 mark, you start establishing departments, you distribute responsibilities between different people. And you're not so much in the technical side of surveying anymore, much more on the business side and managing it. And it's no surprise that as a surveyor, like we don't necessarily have the business management skills, because we're surveyors, like we're really focusing on that. And this is where we believe Kompas comes in and really helps companies, particularly forward-looking companies like Murphy Geospatial was as well 10 years ago. They were at the 30, 40 mark and said, we need to put something in place to really help us grow. And to have these business skills is just crucial for the growth, because otherwise you lose efficiencies, you lose profitability naturally, and your staff gets frustrated with the systems. We all know how difficult it is everywhere to recruit staff at the moment, and it is a big advantage if your business is well run, and to be able to deal with those Friday afternoon calls of clients saying you can't actually come on Monday, and you need to react very quickly and reorganize your schedule, and your crews need to know where they're going. So this is really we see this all the time, and for companies that want to grow, naturally we believe that Kompas is a perfect tool for them to do that.
Okay, well, I tell you what, before building up into really creating the software, and with your involvement in Murphy Geospatial, and as you, like you said, as you grew and got to the point where you're adding more staff, expanding departments, delegating all these things, I guess coming from also now your business background, what do you feel are some of the metrics that really need to be focused upon in running a successful business? I mean, yes, you stressed on scheduling a little bit.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you were looking for in building this software that really are the important factors and these important metrics that need to be followed and studied to be able to successfully run a good business?
Yeah, well, there are a few we could really pick, but in general, it's just understanding where your business is at the moment, where your projects are at the moment. So for having business insights, how many orders have come in the last month that we still need to work off? How many invoices have we sent? How many hours have we worked? And things like that. And a key part here is that it's all integrated, so it's flowing together. Many companies, there are many tools out there. Many companies use many different tools. They have a timesheet tool, they have Excel, naturally, they have accounting, they have Trello, and things like that. But they don't speak to each other. So somebody puts the hours in the timesheet system. It doesn't automatically update everything else, and you lose the risk also to forget invoicing for hours that you've worked in the field, because you just don't have that that information and that insight. And it all really boils down to, in the end, into information and communication, like people knowing where they need to go, what equipment they should take to site. Where is our equipment at the moment? Where's the laser scanner that we need for the project next week? And things like that. Handover from sales to operations, like how often that goes wrong if that is not done correctly. And yeah, all these things are part of what we believed at Murphy's. We need that information and need to make it easy to get the information and the communication flowing between people.
Exactly. Well, and that's something that I think, and I'll be honest with you, I've just recently come out of basically private industry, and that's something that I think the whole industry struggles with, is that, well, at least in the United States, through the recession of 2008 to 2011, we lost a lot of staff. And so we've kind of built up, and even coming into the pandemic, we were on a pretty good roll, but yet we were seeing that staff shortage. And I think that's something that a lot of companies, unfortunately, don't do well, is we've got all this work coming in, we've got really a limited amount of staff, and at the risk of saying no to a project, they take it on, and they don't really measure what they have for manpower, for equipment, for timelines, for what it's going to take to deliver all of these promises. And I think that's part of where I think a good piece of software managing all these things comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be able to see, we have loads of work for the subsurface surveying, or we need more UAV work or something like that. Because we have a UAV, but we're not using it enough. Things like that, utilization rates and so on. And it really helps you create your strategy and doing the right decisions, really, and not just being overwhelmed, because we're in an industry where you also have many fast-moving projects, and you have many clients, and a lot can come in, and if you have staff shortage, you'll have even more projects coming in. And it's very important to have a good view of your business and be able to react quickly to changing situations, and to just be set up in a way. And what I mentioned about the staff, we've had it before, that we had people join us from other companies because they said they can't deal with the with the issues they have at the other companies. Like they only find out on Monday morning where they are going, and it's like the other end of the state or something like that. And all these things are improved with a good business management system.
Oh, exactly. And that even get, and without going off on a tangent on that, and I think that's going to be a part of a problem with employees going forward, is having those good communication skills and a good business layout, because you're right, employees want to be informed. They want that little bit, they want that consideration of where they're going to be Monday morning, coming Friday night or what have you. And I think better organization for a business is obviously very, very critical. And if a business doesn't have that, it's going to have trouble retaining employees. And I think you've hit on something very critical there. And I guess something else I guess I'm curious to hear, and I think this would be part of the analysis that can be done within Kompas is, let's be honest, some clients are better than others. Some projects are more profitable than others. And unfortunately, I think that's part of the profession, at least in the United States, is you kind of want to be everything to everybody, but there are times when you should say no to a particular project, a particular client. And I think it sounds like the software is going to help you really analyze how well you're doing on some of these projects.
Yes, absolutely. And it reminds me, like we had issues, for example, in the UK, that if you don't have a signed contract or you don't have a purchase order, clients would be happy for you to do the work. But when it comes to invoicing, suddenly they say, oh, wait a minute, like where's your contract and purchase order and all this? And that's what we built into the system, that you have, for example, a flag. A project has had the go ahead, so it's starting, but we don't have a contract yet. So somebody, like for example, on the finance side or so, goes through the projects list and sees those flags coming up and says, we need to get this contract, because if we finish the project, have delivered it, we need to be able to to get paid as quickly as possible. And like you said, some clients are better than others. Exactly the same thing. Like you can classify clients. So you have, for example, some clients that are where we have a caution tag on, who are just difficult to deal with. Like they're not always the best clients, and others are key accounts. So you have an inquiry coming in from them, and immediately these are key clients that we want to keep happy. And finally, what you said about analysis of the projects, because all the data is flowing together in Kompas, you can really do a lot of analysis of what's going well, which departments did well on the project. You could even drill it down to people being within the quoted hours. And this all sounds like it's very difficult to put into the system, but it's not. Like a key part here is that the system is easy to use. Naturally, if you put quotes together, you have a little bit of complexity in there, but it's not like one of these accounting softwares where you first need to have several months training before your project managers or your sales guys can put a proposal together. It's very straightforward, very, very quick to get onto the system. The whole onboarding, we help a lot with that. And like me with my background in surveying, and we have our customer success manager, who's also a surveyor, also with an MBA, who also really, we work closely with clients, helping them and advising them as well. Because often when they introduce Kompas, they see, we need to have, let's say, for example, one department manager who has the responsibility and things like that.
Right. Well, and it's something I want to go back on a little bit, and really based upon your experience, because I said I like the fact that yes, you're a surveyor, second generation. Kudos, yay! Shout out to fellow second generationers. But it's also the fact that you did take another path to add the MBA, to add that business component, because that's something you recognized in running a good, successful business. As much as it would be nice to let's install Kompas, let's get it going. That's, for any surveyor now, all of a sudden makes them a better business person. But in addition to that, what from your perspective, what should a good, competent surveyor really look for in developing more skills about understanding the business? I mean, it could be, project tracking or project analysis, being kind of backlog analysis. I mean, what are some key things that you think that the software does help you learn, help you deal with, but really a person should know and not just think I'm going to push a button on software and it's going to fix everything?
Yeah, no, well, there are a couple of things that are very useful as you move up in the company, and maybe you become project manager, and then maybe later on the manager. It's important to remember that management is not surveying. Like, there are different skill sets you need there. So you really you don't need to do an MBA or something like that to get those skill sets, but to get a bit of a better understanding of the financial side, for example. I always like to talk a little bit about the financial profession that's coming into the business, and they have their own language, and it is very important, in my opinion, that you understand what gross margins are and things like that. You don't need to be an expert in it, but you need to know what work in progress is and stuff like that, to just have a better understanding about it. And that's on the financial side, and then obviously on the managing people and leadership side. Like, you can do lots of courses, and I would really recommend also to companies, I would recommend, and we did it as well, that you provide that to your staff, to your managers or aspiring managers, that you have internal training, you bring somebody in, because it will make your business better. And they will really understand it better, how to manage projects, how to record time, how to do the invoicing correctly, and things like that.
Sure. Well, no, that's exactly it. And I think you've hit on something that I think there's a lot of surveyors that don't understand what an employee costs per hour, what that laser scanner or that robot or that GNSS receiver costs amortized over time, what that costs for a job, and there again, what that job is actually worth as well. I mean, that's a whole nother issue as well. I guess let's jump into Kompas for a second. So let's say I've got a company of 20 to 30 people. What kind of a typical timeline do you feel like it takes to really get a small to medium-sized company, get the software engaged, get it installed, and really do some training and really get somebody up and running? I mean, because like you said, it's not nearly as complex as an SAP or some of these other big packages, because it is a little more intuitive. What's your typical turnaround for getting somebody really kind of up to speed on this?
Yeah, so it really depends a lot on how much legacy data they want to bring into the system. If they want to start from scratch, which I have to admit, nobody wanted that so far, then you can start in a few days, like no issue at all. Like, we can set it up and it's all running, and training is very quick. Surveyor training, like we normally recommend like half an hour or something like that, and it can even be or is often recorded so that people can watch it. It's very straightforward. And manager training is normally an hour, and then they know how to use the system. They might not be total experts in it, but let's say we have a company that's been running for a few years. They have I don't know, a few thousand clients, few thousand clients and projects and so on. In general, we say around maybe 4 weeks is realistic, and this really depends a lot on just getting the data. And we help a lot with getting any data companies have, and then massaging that in the right way to bring it into Kompas as quickly as possible and get people up and running as quickly as possible. So that is a pretty good timeline for somebody who wants to bring in existing data.
Because I got to be honest with you, I think that's the part that's so daunting to a lot of people when they start looking at some of these software packages. I mean, let's just say it, AutoCAD, Bentley. I mean, a lot of these things, just so many times when we're talking software, we're thinking, oh, there's going to be so much of a time commitment, so much of a learning curve. And really, you know, that's one thing people don't have right now is the time to do that. And so, yeah, it's nice to be able to, it's quick. It's reasonably quick, like you said, depending on what kind of legacy data. Now, and so people also understand all employees touch this because it's going from timesheets to the boss. So everybody's touching this in one way, shape, or form, because you're all providing data, whether it's hours worked or what have you. Everybody's involved.
Yeah. No, it really is, and with the onboarding, we really do everything we can to make it as painless as possible for companies to get on board. And some even start with just like a department, for example, so that they don't start with the whole thing. But like you say, everybody, and it's a core principle of Kompass that you distribute the responsibilities better. So the surveyors are inputting the timesheets. You don't have, like we have some companies where somebody else from the administration or something like that, they input the timesheets into normally an accounting system or something like that. No, the surveys themselves do it, and it's very easy for them to do it. The project managers themselves, you have one responsible project manager for a project, and that can just be like a senior surveyor or something. You don't need to nominate full project managers, but they will say this is 80% finished, or we've worked 25 hours on this in July, and then this is handed over to somebody who does the invoicing. This can all be the same person for different types, but it really makes it takes the weight of many shoulders, and distributes the weight on many shoulders. While we've seen many companies where for example the accounts department was doing a lot of this work, they would run from manager to manager to get the numbers and do all the invoices, and it really is it makes it much more straightforward.
Very good. Well, what I like about it is, yes, you're right. There's so many places we've got our crews filling out timesheets and turning them in, and somebody else is doing the input. I like it from the aspect, it really makes it feel like everybody's part of the system, and they're not just punching a time card and turning it in. You know, they're accountable for what they're putting in, and it provides some accountability at every step of the way, which I think is fantastic. And I think it really it to me it creates a little more team structure as well. And so I really like that. So if a listener here wants to know more about Kompass, the Kompass package, the software package, where can they go to? Where can we find you?
Yes, so our website is on kompassbms.com. So Kompass with a K, BMS, the letters, and we'll also be now at Trimble Dimensions. So if anybody is there in November, come by. We have a booth there, and talk to me. But you can also send an email directly to me. So that's just Kai, Kai, at kompassbms.com, and I'll very gladly show you a demo of the system and discuss how it could work for you.
We'll go ahead and post all that in the show notes as well. Don't worry. So if we'll make sure that everybody gets to that. Before I let you go, I do, because you're a surveyor, I asked this really of all of the guests. How does the future of surveying look to you? And I want to say it probably looks somewhat strong, because you're putting a lot of effort into a great piece of software to make other surveyors better. But from your perspective, how does the future of surveying look?
Yeah, well, I think it's extremely bright. I think the future is amazing. We have such technological progress that's coming in. So data acquisition has become easy in quotation marks, but it really, the data that we're creating is enormous, and people with geospatial knowledge are still a shortage worldwide, not just in our profession and so on. So the data we're creating is massive, and this will be key in my opinion. Working with the data, having the whole 3D and aspect in it, and obviously BIM came into all this as well. I think it's so fascinating for new surveys to come into the market and to work with all these really interesting technologies and work on the data, and the variety of the surveying profession is just mind-boggling. What you can do. I always feel that we're underselling ourselves, because the potential of surveying and what you can do in the industry is so massive. And maybe that's the problem, that there's just so much that people can do, and it's all very fascinating. And I'm still like very, very optimistic about the sector. Well, it's a great profession to be in.
I completely agree. I echo all of those comments, because I feel like we're really kind of on the edge of something even getting bigger coming out of the pandemic. And I think we've got some opportunities. And I think with, like you said, the advancement of the technology, and as long as people like yourself are putting together even better tools for making us a better profession through our better business, I think that's very, very important. So I'm glad we ran into each other at Hexagon. I'm looking forward to running into you at Dimensions, and we'll check in on progress on things. So, but thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was really great talking to you.
All right, well, that'll wrap it for this week on Surveyor Says. Wherever you listen to your podcast, please hit that like button, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. You've been listening to the Surveyor Says podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, and we are here to help. Visit our website, nsps.us.com, to learn more about our association, the programs we administer and support, our sustaining members, and information about future episodes of Surveyor Says. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.